So in preparation here, I went down into the archives and I pulled out your file and I read the file about this church. And I got to tell you, I learned a lot of great things, more than I have time to tell you about, or it will be 3 o'clock before we go. But I learned a really interesting thing that, there was a denomination called the Evangelical and Reformed Church. And we always say it, Evangelical and Reformed Church. But this church, St. Paul, used to be St. Peter's. And when it was St. Peter's, it was a German Reformed church. And then it became a German Evangelical church. So instead of E and R, it was R and E. So you were R and E church. Read church, do it again sort of thing. You started as a German Reformed church, but it wasn't a good fit. And it wasn't a good fit, and this was a wonderfully interesting thing. It wasn't a good fit because you are more free-spirited than the German Reformed people were at that time. You wanted a little more casualness, a little more openness. You were really from the Deutsche Evangelische side, the German evangelical side. So you went from being St. Peter to St. Paul, from Reformed to Evangelical, and you did that for quite a few years. And then you flipped it around because the R and E's joined and became E and R, so you became St. Peter, who became St. Paul, who was Reformed, and then Evangelical. Then you became Evangelical and Reformed, and you did that for a while until you became United Church of Christ. You were Reformed and Evangelical, and then Evangelical and Reformed in the United Church of Christ. You were St. Peter's and St. Paul, and you are 125 years old, and you are remarkable. Because all 125 years you've done some incredible things. Really incredible. And they were simple things in many ways. You did baptisms, and confirmations, and weddings, and funerals. You welcomed people home and you sent them away. And you prayed for them when they went to war. And you were glad when they came home. And you used to speak German and then you spoke English. And some German, some English, and now mostly just English. You have been so many things in so many ways, season after season, year after year. And then on so many simple Sundays. Just a regular old simple Sunday. You've been a place where people can gather and worship and remember the goodness of God. And remember it sometimes when you hurt so bad inside it was all you could do to get out of bed and get to church that day. And you were hurting here and someone was happy there, but they noticed that you were hurt here and they reached over and they touched you. Simple Sundays, over and over and over again for 125 years. I tell you, I give thanks for you today. Great thanks for your first 125 years. Prophet Jeremiah is a brilliant prophet. I tell you, if you just want to study one book of the Bible, just spend your time in the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah is on an emotional roller coaster. Things aren't the way they're supposed to be, and Jeremiah is upset. In chapter 6, Jeremiah observes that there's all sorts of horrible things going on. People are hungry and homeless, and there's battles and wars all around the world, and they're going around saying, oh, peace, peace, everything's wonderful. And so Jeremiah says, peace, peace, when there is no peace. He's outraged and upset. Jeremiah also is disturbed and thinks there's no possibility of anything getting any better. He just storms around and is sure that everything has gone somewhere in a handbasket. And he's not at all happy with the way things are. But then in this chapter that we read from today, this 31st chapter, Jeremiah turns to the future And it's not a future that is just around the corner right now. It's not that this is going to happen immediately. But even though things are bad in Jeremiah's time. Even though there's homelessness and hunger, grief and sadness, war and strife, even though all those things are going on, Jeremiah says that God promises that things will change. Listen. For thus says the Lord, sing aloud with gladness and raise shouts, proclaim, give praise and say, save, O Lord, your people, the remnant of Israel. Listen, see, look out there, not today, not right now, but look out there. In the future, it is true that God is going to do a remarkable thing. God is going to open the door and come home. Come home through the open door again. It says this, see, I am going to bring them from the land of the north and gather them from the farthest parts of the earth. Among them the blind and the lame, those with child and those with labor together. A great company. Jeremiah sees it. He sees a day with God when things that are wrong won't be wrong anymore. When things that are bad won't be bad anymore. When it's possible, not this minute, but it is possible that we will come home. Come home. Come home. It is possible. No, it is promised that we will come home. Now, when we come home, we ought to be jumping for joy, shouldn't we? When things that are amiss get straightened out, when the troubles of the world stop, when we all live together in harmony, we ought to be jumping for joy. But Jeremiah says this funny thing, listen to this. With weeping they shall come. I have to tell you, I find that both puzzling and perfect. Because when we come home, when the grief that we have stops, when the worries that we have are overwhelmed, when they're no longer the case, when we quit worrying, when we finally get back together, when sisters and brothers who have been fighting with each other, husbands and wives who have been torn asunder, families that are a mess, when grief happens, when even death enters into our life and it is overwhelmed, we are both filled with joy and we cannot control the weeping. Remember I said that this church is remarkable. It's done baptisms and weddings and funerals. Lots of funerals. Lots of funerals. Look to the right and the left. Over 125 years, a lot of folks are gone and missed. A husband who used to sit next to a wife. One of your best friends who used to always come, suddenly taken by a heart attack. Cancer. Oh my God, the cancer that has gone on around us. Weeping happens right here in this spot. But Sunday after Sunday, you gather still. Sunday after Sunday, this church, like the church in Pohnpei, Micronesia, in the middle of the Pacific Island, like the fancy, dancy church in Harvard Square, like the church I belong to, like churches everywhere across the world, they gather even in the middle of the weeping because what they know is what Jeremiah knows, that the way that things are right now is not the way they will always be. We will come home. We will come home. A great day is still coming. See it? You see the day? It is real and believable and true, sisters and brothers, because there is a time when God gathers us all together, because it is promised to us that we are one people, here, there, everywhere, from all over, we are all one, because that is true. We are people of great hope. great hope. And we can face the hardest things possible. I don't know what it is with you, but I'm sure right now out in this congregation there's grief or worry or wonder. But I tell you, it will be all right. And you will come home. Sisters and brothers, I have great news to share on this day. It is the great news of the perfect and powerful witness that you have been providing here in Evansville and from Evansville around the world, that you have joined with others to do, that we may see that with God there is an incredibly promised future of real peace, of incredible graciousness, and home. You will come home. You will come home. Praise be to God. You will come home.